Morning guys, how are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy Maloney's up ahead, I think, looking at the Swans. Don't know where she's gone. Hope you're all happy, healthy, doing the things that you love. Things are not happy and healthy at Tottenham Hotspur right now, as you know. One bit of bad news after the other, and today we're going to be talking about the latest in the Juventus Fabio Paratici saga. Everything went quiet on that front, didn't it, guys? I remember I did 6 or 7 videos about this topic back in, was it the start of December? I forget. And it all looked kind of bad, and then a few days ago, we've been asking questions on this channel, where is Paratici? And then a couple of days ago, I said he's come out with a statement about not being able to talk, not being ready to talk about any of these things with Juventus. It's unclear, he's unhappy, it's unsettled. And we were asking the question about, how focused is he on the job in hand? Is part of the reason maybe why there is such a lackluster transfer window movement this time round? Is it maybe because the guy that's in charge of organising that stuff is a little bit distracted with personal issues? Some of you agreed, some of you didn't in the comments. Well, look, today, or last night, the news comes out that the judge in the case reached their verdict, an early verdict, which looked very bad. Guilty verdicts on all parts. Juventus, the summary indictment, the summary judgment came down with a 15-point deduction for their Serie A season, which would take them from 3rd place to about 10th place, I believe. Then the 3 main defendants in the case, Agnelli, ex-president of Juventus, has been banned from Italian football for 2 years. Pavel Nedved, his right-hand man, his vice president, I think it was, has been banned for 8 months. And Fabio Paratici, our director of football, has been banned, been hit with the most significant, most serious, most strict of all of the consequences, has been banned from Italian football for 2.5 years. Now look, first and foremost, Juventus has said that they're waiting for the summary verdict to give more details for the justification of the deduction of points. And then when they will get those, they will figure out whether they want to appeal. The appeal is likely. If they appeal, it's probably going to be very similar for all 3 of the defendants. And then depending on what happens in that situation, if the appeal is granted and then validated, or if it's granted and denied, or if the appeal is denied altogether, we'll have to talk about that when the time comes. But the outcomes in that scenario could be anything from a complete removal, complete dismissal of the case, and everyone gets back to work. Or it could turn out that there are still a guilty verdict but more lenient punishments. Or it could turn out that there's still a guilty verdict and there's even more stringent punishments. So all options are on the table, but it does kick the can down the road a little bit. There is also this noise coming out that whilst the ban currently is only, I don't know why I did air quotes there, currently is only affecting Italian football, there is the request from the prosecutor's office that they extend the ban to FIFA and UEFA wide. So if that happens, then Fabio Paratici is a dead man. Right? He can't do his job anywhere for 2.5 years. On that basis, you would expect there to be a swift resignation or a swift sacking, depending on, I guess, Daniel Levy's knowledge of the problems that Paratici faced when he signed, how open and honest he has been about the severity of the issues. But if the punishment is just on Italian football, then it depends on what that means, right? So I'm not entirely sure. The details haven't emerged yet. Now, if it means that he's just banned from dealing with Italian, with being a part of an Italian club for 2.5 years, then there's no real consequence to us really, because he can still do his job at Tottenham and he can still go about his business, no problem. If it means that he's not allowed to deal with Italian clubs in any way, shape or form, then you would imagine that there'd be such a microscope and a lens focused on what he does and his behaviour that he wouldn't be allowed to be a real participant, in my opinion, in any negotiations that Tottenham may or may not have in the future with regard Italian teams, and whether Italian teams would want to even engage in the conversation with him because they would fear the consequences of being compromised in that regard. So when you think about it, guys, if Paratici is going to be ostracised from Italian football, and Tottenham, even with him still employed, won't be really able to be seen discussing potential transfers from Italy with him at the helm for fear of that consequence of being compromised on either side, then what value does he really provide to Tottenham? The overwhelming majority of the players that he has signed that have been successes at Tottenham have come from the Italian league. Paratici has been a relative success. Bentancur, Kulusevski, Romero, all have been relative successes. Destiny Udogie, we hope, is going to be a relative success. Other players that he has signed in his time at Tottenham that haven't come from Italy, how many of them have proven to be successes? Of the team at the moment, you could point to Brian Hill. You know, time will tell, but you wouldn't say that's been a successful transfer. Emerson Royale, Bissouma, Richarlison, Longley, maybe, Fraser Foster. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but you take the point that the people that are out there in the Spurs community that have his back, that call him the Don Paratici, that is in no small part based on his success in bringing in players that have worked, that have helped, that have yielded returns, and the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of them have come from Italy. So in a world where his ban from Italian football prevents even his continued employment at Tottenham from being useful, then his utility goes to, from wherever it is right now, to a fraction of that. In a world where that's not the case, in a world where he's just not allowed to be a part of Italian clubs anymore, but can still work for Tottenham and can still be a part of negotiations, then I'm not sure there's any real issue here, apart from maybe the PR damage that's done to the club, a bit of embarrassment, and maybe the future spotlight that will be shone upon Tottenham's financial affairs in regards to transfers, because there's no smoke without fire, and once you have that kind of tarnished reputation, you're always going to be viewed differently. And you know what? Bad PR for Tottenham is 10 a penny these days with the way that everything's going. So if it is just a case of he can't work for an Italian club, then we move on, right? It doesn't look good. It looks pretty poor. And hopefully this is out of the way now so he can get back to work. Maybe he's happy with this verdict. We'll see. But if, of course, the extension of that ban is not only upheld but emphasised, but put into place, then his utility has gone from whatever it is now to zero. If he can't do any work at Tottenham because he's banned by UEFA and FIFA for 2.5 years, then he has to go immediately. There's absolutely no utility in him being here. And what does that mean for our rebuild, guys? 1 second. I've been calling for a factory reset at Tottenham of late, and we'll talk about that as I summarise this in a moment. But if there was a rebuild, if there is a vision that's in place, the vision that Paratici is supposed to articulate to everybody in early February, the questions to that Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust that the club indicated a willingness to answer, but not with that kind of time sensitivity that we were all hoping for. This plan of him rebuilding the scouts and youth development, bringing in all the technical sporting directors, he's in charge of all things that are at Tottenham Hotspur football side of the football club, allegedly. If he is without utility going forward, then to me, he needs to go immediately. Now, I don't know who the best sporting directors, the best directors of football are out there that I haven't heard of before. I'm sure there's absolute worldies that are available for the right money to come in, but I think that whatever that vision is, it could even be going back to old people that have been at the club before, like Paul Mitchell. Spoke about him in this very spot on this very walk a few days ago. Probably Levy was wrong to let him go, and if he would come back, that guy has had all sorts of success, developing all sorts of talent wherever he has gone. Now, I know that people would say this factory reset, Sean, is useless, it's pointless if the owners are the same. And whilst I totally get on board that idea, I completely understand and appreciate it, the owners are the largest block to move. They're the heaviest block. They're the least likely to move on anytime soon. And I'm not going to spend my everyday dismissing short-term solutions or medium-term solutions to problems because there is a long-term stumbling block, and so there's no point no point in talking about anything else other than getting the owners out of the club. We can reset this football club even with these owners if we were to get behind a unified plan that can educate the fans on what the vision is. And to me, that vision has to be a 5-year project with a front foot, free-flowing manager who appreciates and develops talent, young talent, with a philosophy that is exciting first. Because if you're going to be unsuccessful in terms of silverware anyway, you should at least enjoy the football in the process to being ultimately unsuccessful until something can be nurtured and turned into a trophy winning season. And I don't think that's going to happen unless there is wholesale changes at Tottenham Hotspur, and part of those changes needs to be the mindset and the expectation of the fans. We need to get behind it, whatever that vision is, whenever it's articulated, and recognise and be prepared for a 2 steps back, hopefully 5 steps forward process. And I don't think that will happen with this ownership, with this manager, with this director of football, all at loggerheads and bickering with each other around philosophy and vision. So I don't know where to go with this particular story, guys, apart from to say, look, at the moment it looks pretty poor. The optics look awful for Fabio Paratici. We'll have to wait and see what shakes out with the detail. As I say, any and all outcomes are possible. At the moment, it just looks as though he's been banned for 2.5 years from Italian football. And unfortunately, I don't know, I can't educate you or illuminate you as to what the consequences of that look like for his ability to do deals with Italian clubs whilst being employed by Tottenham. But if the answer to that question is limited at best or 0 at worst, then personally I don't think that he offers much more utility or ability to do what he's good at doing for us. His expertise is Italian football. If he has no access to that, then he's very average, or at least has come across as very average at everything else. Maybe this is the first stepping stone towards the great reset at Tottenham Hotspur, to coin a horrible phrase that I'm not looking forward to experiencing in the wider world. But I think at Tottenham there is need for one, and perhaps this piece of information, when it fully shakes out, will be a catalyst to move in that direction. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm going to try my best to do a live stream this afternoon, so keep a lookout for that where we can go into this in more detail. I want to hear your thoughts about it in real time, and I'll see you then. If I don't, it might be tomorrow, but I'm going to definitely do one this weekend. Like, share and subscribe, guys, and as always, bye bye.